Hey, hey, what's going on? Happy day to you. Welcome to modding some Arkness. Probably going to do it a little poorly, going to do it a little differently, going to try to move pretty quick, and I hope you get something out of it. I've been asked by a few folks to run through how I created my mod that I had shared obnoxiously after a nice weekend crush, and I thought I'd go back through some of those lessons learned and try to share those with you. Doesn't matter what you want to build, start somewhere. It can really lead to a lifetime of confidence and understanding in technology and lead to some wonderful career paths. So, whatever your interest, ask a good question and try to solve it. So, we're going to do something weird. Let's just dive right in. I'll tell you a little bit of the goal as we get going so you can imagine where we're headed. We're going to create a soul tree. It's going to be a weird little tree here that can create. So we got our soul plant, which is really going to be a tree, but I didn't feel like repeating the word. And we're going to have. Let's just start there. Let's get something up and running really, really fast. So the first thing you need to create any mod is really just chilling right here in the generic mod folder. But if you didn't know where that was, you're going to get used to. If you're not already, you can just pop up here to the root, and you could start to type any underscores that you see in the world. Those those can be spaces up here. So that's great. So you find that generic mod, and we want these 3 files. Now I'll tell you already, these 2 files you cannot rename the very beginning. This has to start with primal game data. This has to start with test game mode. Probably this is the one that mattered the most, but I did a bunch of renaming and cleaning things up and was broke for a very long time simply because I had renamed this file. You can rename every other file, and we will, but just be cautious. Don't rename this one. Also, once you get going, especially once you publish to the marketplace, you won't want to rename this folder either, or you'll have to do a little bit of work to kind of reattach to your original mod and things like that. So there you go. Already some good warnings there. All right, so we want these 2, and again, these 2 are a little weird. They'll be the only 2 that we drag into our project, and we say create child. And so what that's going to do is it's going to continue to parent, point back to, and yield most of its settings and implementations to these parents. And if the game developers happen to update these parents, we will benefit those updates versus perhaps breaking when those updates come out. All right, and then we're going to want our level file here to describe our mod. We're just going to copy, and forevermore we're just going to copy. We're going to copy, and so you can research more of those 2 in the relationship. And as you create more and more of your own complicated things, you will definitely parent from yourself with frequency. All right, let's take a look. We've got these 3 files. We see the little marks here say they've never been saved. And another little tip, whenever you're creating files, renaming files, certainly if you're going to embark on the brave journey of rearranging your files, Control S, that's save all. Do it a lot. Still may run into some challenges. This is not my favorite development environment. I'm a whole 30 hours in, and I don't know, but it's all right. Just be kind. Ask it questions. It's going to have to win. All right. So we have these. They're now saved, and let's get a few more files, and then we'll do our renaming adventure. And so we want, to begin with, the simplest adventure. Let's grab some sort of a tree. So I'm going to go all the way back to root up here so that we're looking across the whole world. And I'm going to grab this dragon tree. Now, if you didn't know what you were looking for, this is one of the big places you're going to learn stuff. The wildcard crew or the Unreal team or some beautiful volunteer out there, somebody has taken and made this ginormous Ark dev kit wrapper that's sitting on top of the Unreal Engine, and they've left you lots of little delicious examples. And so we're going to borrow and learn from and slowly replace and customize different things as we go. I happen to know I want the dragon tree. You could type tree, you could type leaf, you could type mayho or mejo, however you like to say it, and learn some of the things. For instance, if we found our dragon tree here and we go to our reference viewer, another great place to learn. It's not the whole story, but it really gives you a great place to kind of start looking at and learning, like, where is this tree referenced, and what is it using, and what is used by it. And so we see the dragon tree has a settings file. We're going to want one of those. We see the dragon tree has this mesh, and a mesh seems to be, certainly beyond my expertise, but it's called a mesh, I guess, because it's where you mesh up your skin or your graphic, kind of funky flat image that gets wrapped around your material. And so you mash all those together. That's how my brain works. We see that, pulling from this, inherits from, in this case, the script engine and Unreal Engine, using those dudes or implements those dudes. We see some materials and things that we're not going to overload right now, and a 3D model for its tree. So we think we're going to grab this settings file, and we're going to grab this tree. So the best way to do that when you're over here looking around is just right-click Find in Content Browser. It's going to drag us down and highlight it. Make sure your mod is visible over here. And barely visible. Copy. The other one we wanted was this settings here, Find in Content Browser. And copy. All right. Let's do the rename game. As I mentioned, we can rename most of these. F2, something to get used to. It's a Windows hotkey for renaming files. Generic mod, we're going to call this Soul Tree. All right, so we have our mod, we have our plant. Let's go into our game data, and we'll just give it a name and a description so we can keep things simple here. Right, and then our plant, need to point to our new settings file. Starting to see that pattern? We pulled down that settings file because we want to overload it. Oh, it goes the other way. I apologize. The settings file points at the mesh. And I named it with the number 4 because if we were at some point to try and implement like growing out of a plot, then there are ultimately 4 stages. The third and fourth stage are the same, except the fourth has berries. All right. Now we don't want to overload the emitter right now, sounds, some of those other fun things, but we do need a component so that we can teach it a new trick, what we want it to do. So let's go act like we don't know where any of that is. We'll go way up here. We know it has something to do with not a dragon tree, but tree and component. So here we have various blueprints that have been implemented and examples we could borrow and make our own, and just try to pick stuff through the example set that's really close to the behaviors you want, especially while you're learning. And that'll make that a lot easier. And then you'll learn later how to create your own properties and override your own behaviors and write your own behaviors, etc. All right. So we just want like a boring old tree emitter. We don't want an emitter. We want a component. Here we go. Wood harvest is coming from Valguero. Good or bad? I don't want that. Here's a corrupt tree. All right. Why am I not finding what I thought I would? Can we follow the bouncing ball from this dragon tree? If we go back to his reference viewer, we now know his settings file. So if I double click it, it's now the middle cat. We can see what the settings file references. We have our impact emitter, and we have our wood harvest component. So we're gonna find that cat, and just like before, why did I do that? And just like before, make your mod visible, drag it in, copy here. And now let's rename this one. And I just basically like to, I don't know, kind of finish things with what it is. And before that, you're kind of doing namespacing, which should basically look like your folder structure. That way, later as it grows, if you're finding something, you want to make some changes, you're trying to figure out where in the world that code is and that those assets are in your structure. It basically should be folder, 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 something useful, what it is, and then get out. Some I end with BP as well, but I'll probably knock that off at some point. Alright, so now we have this thing. It looks like it's wanting a save from us, so back to that good Control S habit. We are telling the settings file that it has a component we would like to overload, named something with soul. See? Nice. Alright, now finally, I keep forgetting to name things, so double check. That first. Now, we're going to teach this cat to do something tricky. Harvest resource entities. It gives us wood. Talks about how it can give us wood, etc. And it gives us thatch. Well, not this tree. Gonna throw those away. What our tree is gonna do is gonna first give us a little cooked lamb chop. Yep, that's right. Then it's gonna give us a little prime fish meat. Yeah, it is. Nobody knows why. And we'll stop there for now. So we got some cooked lamb chops, prime fish meat, and we need to set some quantities here. So you get 1 to 1 of those. Somebody research what all that means. I just know if we don't give it a little something, it doesn't work. I think we can leave those empty. And then we have these weights, so we could say you get, much more of one than the other. Bow, 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 bow. That'll get us started. So in theory, we have a settings, plant, bump it up. We're not teaching it anything. All right, I guess we're ready to paint it on the screen. So we are headed to maps, submaps. Get you somewhere that, well, let's just open where we want to paint first. So we're going to go to the island. All right. Once you load up the island, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to your level browser. And you're going to want to probably at minimum load up this landscape sublevel. So I right clicked and I'm going to choose load. Now if you hold your right click mouse button, you can kind of pivot your camera around. That also gives you an opportunity to drive with WASD. I don't really know where I am on the map, so I'm going to head for one of the obies. Take green over there. I'm going to click him. F to focus. And I'm going to drive down here somewhere I do know. All right. Now, if you wanted to be more specific and make sure you weren't like drawing on top of something important or another piece of foliage or in some cases animals, you could go ahead and go back to your level explorer and you'll start to figure out which chunks matter the most to you so you don't have to load the whole thing. But you could certainly load this entire thing up and you'll have the entire game experience in front of you and you can really do your final painting like that. I'm just going to show you a simple way to get our new tree on the map and we'll see how that goes. So if we now head to foliage painting, and it's a little tricky. If you make a little space or scroll to the bottom, you have this one tiny shot at it. You got to land right here. But if we grab our trees mesh and drop it right here, and then we look at this not using shared settings, and we're going to learn this little button. So you'll see this little arrow all over the place, and what that means is if you touch, like here we're touching the settings file, if you touch something down here in your Explorer, you can just inject it, so to speak. Alright, so that instead of like searching for it. So these two things talk about the painting overall settings and then each instance that gets painted onto the canvas, its settings. And I am positive there's a better way because these questions are answered in our settings file, but for whatever reason, you have to come in here and set up your painting canvas when you're building from scratch. And you'll also want to double check these if things go awry. But the FX actor we didn't override, and that had something to do with, do we remember? It was wood harvest. Oh, maybe this one. No wonder we were so thrown off. This is tree harvest. And the other one that we inherited was wood harvest. That's no fun. But we're going to actually grab our soul tree here. And we're going to make sure collision is set to block all except IK because that's what we see. Seems like block all and block all except IK are the two settings. It seems block all shows up most in furniture like a preserving bin, where block all except IK seem to show up in things more harvestable. I don't know. There we go. And something doesn't look right already, but we'll keep moving for a minute. Got our paintings happy, our scale. Oof. Let's bring this cat down. Some of these changes, most of the changes should be updating the settings file. That's why it keeps flagging. All right, let's try to plant a tree. Our density and our radius. I'm going to bring this way down. Those are not the levers I was looking for. Sorry, they're up here. The brush size and the density. All right. Pow. Aw. Where's my tree? Boom, tree. Boom, tree. All right. All right. Got ourselves some trees here. So if I flip over, I'm sure there are a lot of ways to pull this off. Maybe the select or something. I tend to just pop over to this cat because I know there are very few negative implications of clicking things and play from here. If I reach up and just hit the play button, I'm going to spawn somewhere and have to fly to Green Obi and blah, blah, blah. All right, the cook finished, and we have filled in enough of the questions. We should be able to upload this dude. Let's go. And if we're lucky, and all went well, now we go back to the top here, and there's a little link, view item on workshop. We will kick off Ark. Head over. Where do we put our trees? Where you at, you big dragon trees? Just look like yeah. Bang, bang. That ain't him. Alright, something went awry. And we do not appear to have our trees. Alright, looks like we got the map, but we did not get the mod. The map and no mod. So, we're going to come back here. What I want to do is load alert. See, the fact that we see these trees and we haven't even loaded that level makes me a little bit curious. Here. So what I think I want to do is select these cats, Control X, deleted them. Let's load up. Did we load up soul trees? And let's make it the active layer. And let's see if we can paste these dudes. We tried. Didn't work. Let's go back to painting. We could paint some happy trees. Alright, if you recall, we'll go back to our mesh, drag it here, touch our settings file, put it here. Should find none. We deleted those. I think there's. Alright. And we should be able to go ahead and paint a couple. It thinks it's on the level that we're on, so that feels good. Let's still double check that our level's blue. Alright, that feels a lot better. Toggling the visibility works now. Gonna say, even if that doesn't fix everything, that was definitely a problem. Let's give it a nice Control S. We still have that one little bugger next to my reboot. I imagine it'll go away. If you're an anxious person, you're going to have to relax. This thing spends a lot of time broke. Alright, let's give this another shake. Hey, there we go. That's what we wanted to see. Getting our map cooked out. Yeah, if your blueprints aren't showing up here, there won't be any use publishing them. Alright, let that finish up. Alright, we like it. Pop up here, open the item, check our change notes, make sure I made it. Looks like it did. Pop over here to Steam. host local. Make sure we got soul trees, single player. Feeling good about this one. We should pop right in front of a tree. Come on, little buddy. You got this, Ark. You got this wild card. Unreal. All right. Oh, that's promising. And some biggins. Come on. They're so big. It looks closer than they appear in the rearview mirror. Come on, little buddy. You ready? I'm nervous. Nothing. Cook lamb chop! Hey! Oh my gosh. All right. Satisfaction. It's 10 hours of recordings, 2 days. It's gonna take me a little while to cut this up. Oh, I'm getting destroyed. Get out of here. I'll give you my lamb chops. Take my lamb chops. Here, eat this. Ah! Where did he even go? I guess my punch terrified him. Take that, son. What? Take my lamb chops back. Later, y'all. Oh, come on. We got to eat one of these, right? I want to feel better soon. All right, let's cut that. We'll pick it back up. And darn it, let's turn that into bloody meat instead of cooked meat and go on to torture these soul trees and practice many other parts of modding in Ark. Wonderfully, torturously, abusively. Not the best development experience I've ever had, but darn it, we're getting through it. Have an amazing rest of your day. Until next time, cheers. Later.